So I'm happy to introduce Giulio Galliano, not Galliano, sorry, Gallana, is a textile designer and artist. He studied textile design at the University of Applied Science and Arts in Lucerne. In his work, he explores different strategies of remanufacturing. He also investigates how fabrics of old clothing can be refined in a scalable way.
Thank you very much. My journey for this residency started with a big pile of old clothes. And my goal was really to research efficient strategies to get old clothes into a new textile collage, while also making sure that they are suitable for embellishment. And this is the very first thing I did in this residency. It was really just testing out different seams, bringing these collaged pieces together and seeing how different sewing techniques also alter and influence the physical properties of the new collage. This was based on old sweaters, and sweaters consist of differently sized parts, right? The front and the back is different than the arms. So in order to maximize the area that can be retrieved from those clothes, I tried to make these little squares. But then I found out that this is kind of inefficient and takes a lot of time to do. So then I realized that maybe pants could be a very good source material because they have as inherent property this rectangular shape, and they are very long and straight. You can easily retrieve those panels from the pants, and very little sewing is required to bring them into a new panel. So then I got a little bit maybe overly optimistic and thought, now I'm going to make running meters of textile collages and bring this to market. But it turned out that this there's a reason no one is doing this yet, especially if you try to combine many different qualities of, in this case, pants, different types of elastane proportion in the fabric can create tension between the single panels. And in a smaller sized panel, this might not be too much of a problem. But if this happens over and over again, and then they pull on each other all the time, then you really receive this wrinkly surface that then is not optimal for embellishment anymore. So here you can see an example where it is really wrinkly because of the different elastane properties of these pants that I used. But I think this could maybe work out if you always used the same material. If you had big quantities of a discarded product, then you could achieve a way nicer outcome, definitely. But then I thought, if it is about remanufacturing garments, maybe you don't need these running meters, but only a panel that can fit the new pattern you want to retrieve from it. So then I started to just sew together these 4 parts of these pants into these smaller panels, where each of them consists of just one pair of pants. So it's always the same quality, and that helps a lot. It works out quite fine. So this almost already sums up the learnings from the first month. Time flies. And my second endeavor, I used to really seize an opportunity to delve into an unknown territory for me, and really learn about about embroidery. I've never had the chance to really dive into that, and it's a super interesting embellishment technique. So this textile that I'm holding in this picture was created in collaboration with the Southern Museum, and it has been stitched on the very first automated embroidery machine, which runs on punch cards. So this was a very nice experience. And then in contrast, I could realize a second similar collage with Lesser, which is they build the most technologically advanced embroidery machines that exist on the market, as well as embroidery software. And there I really sat next to Lucas, who cannot be here with us today, sadly, but he really showed me how what it takes to really create a drawing that works for embroidery. And there, like, respect for punchers. There's a lot of thought that has to go into creating such a drawing for the machine. Here is a slide where I put a detail of both next to each other. On the left-hand side, you see an excerpt of the one I did with Saurer, and on the right side, the one I did with Lesser. And I really like what happens when you put them in dialogue. I think they tell a story about the old and the new, the present, and maybe also a future. And you might have noticed that I've used quite a lot of floral motifs for my works. And this should be a comment on this fact that flowers are everywhere in textiles. And this is kind of a weird thing that is a thing. And I believe that many textiles are just created to look pretty, but they don't last. So I wanted to kind of comment on this. But then as well, because it is such a thing that there's always textiles and on flowers on textiles, and I'm a textile designer, I felt the need to have my own take on flowers. So I did that. But I must also say that flowers are a very strong symbol for beauty, for change. So I feel like it fits very well with the topic because it is a representation of a life cycle, right? And this already brings me to the last month and my third endeavor, where all the learnings from the first 2 months converge. I took sweatpants, so again, pants as a base material, took them apart and used a cover stitch machine to receive a very flat seam. And at this point, we can maybe quickly watch this 10-second video of how this process looks like and sounds like. Yeah, that at this point, huge shout out to Heike, who took care of a lot of the sewing work for my project, who also sadly cannot be here today. But another person who is here today, whom I also would like to thank, is Martin Schlegel. I was able to stay at his printing atelier quite some days, and that was a very, very cool opportunity for me. And then the printing part was very smooth. It worked out. This brownish thing works very well. It's the jersey. It's basically made to be printed on, and the seam really causes no irritation with the printing. And then you draft the pattern and sew it all together. That's the sweater you can see there next to the entry. And yeah, voila. Or should I say TaDA? The new sweater is ready. So huge thank you, really, to everyone involved in this. You are all awesome. And it was an incredible experience for me. My very first residency, but I'm quite certain that there is nothing better. So I had a blast. Also thanks to my very cool co-residents who yeah, I will miss. So that's it. Thank you.
So we still have a few minutes. Yes. Maybe I sit if that's okay, so I can. So I was interested in your use of the word collage because it's a artistic concept on one hand, but it's also used in textiles since very ancient times. If you think of quilts, for example, it's a way to reuse waste materials. So, how do you feel about this both meanings of the word collage? Because it's also it looks like not a piece of textile, but also like an artwork. This what you did.
When you collage something, you take pre-existing material, and so there might come a question of authorship and appropriation, but my thing is more about this history, this unknown history of each and every single piece of textile and this life it already had, and this meaning that it has, but it's kind of unknown to the person who then, or might be known. But in my case, I received all of these pieces through someone, so I don't know where they were before. But I feel like this loads them up with something mythical or mystical, and yeah, this magic is something that I really enjoy about working with collage.
Yeah, it reminds me also of the ways Rung is working with different to bring together things that normally you wouldn't think they belong together. So it's yeah, it's the really the strength of your work to make things visible through this new patterns. And what is also interesting is because I always follow a bit the there's a kind of not a fight, but it's a bit about values when you compare arts and crafts and art. So you talk about embellishment or the embroidery is a refinement. So how do you feel about this conquering two spheres between arts and craft and art? Because it's also about high and low, and there's always a bit this conflict in textile art, which is similar also maybe in ceramic, but nowadays you feel that in art it's very much upcoming and people are reconnecting to these ways of working.
For me, it's less about art and crafts and art, but more a question of design and art. in general, I would say. And this is quite a conflict somehow, because art is about, yeah, what is art about? About the concept and the thoughts and the feelings and emotions and things that cannot be expressed maybe by words. But design is very much about functionality and economics and time. And so I think maybe, because it was now a conflict for me as well during this residency, but actually maybe they just have to go together, like a yin and yang. They can feed each other, and both can grow because of the other. So yeah.
Don't feel that, yeah. By the way, art is also.
But I don't know if I
That's a good.
answered the
No, that's a
question.
good point, of course. But I mean, I was in German. You speak about Kunstgewerbe. That's what I meant by arts and crafts, and there's also a conflict between Kunstgewerbe and Kunst.
Mhm.
So there's also this high and low idea. By the way, art is also about economics. So
True.
so
True.
so also maybe you can talk about the different tracks you followed during this residency, because one was a kind of taking your master thesis a step.
Bachelor.
Oh, just bachelor. Sorry, but the bachelor.
I'm flattered. Thank you.
The bachelor a step further, and the other one was really exploring total new fields. So can you compare, and what did you learn? What are your learnings about this upscaling or taking what you already had a step further?
I'm definitely happy with the improvement on my bachelor work. Back then, could have maybe been nice to add a picture of that as well in the presentation, where all of this kind of came from. But that was really more a concept, and it had a lot of overlapping textile parts that made the whole sweater kind of bulky and clunky and not really wearable. So the iterations there are totally good. And then the exploring the embroidery part, I would say, was just an opportunity that I saw now in the context of TaDA, that I had to do, because otherwise you will never get the chance to. Although it's probably not realistic from a monetary standpoint, except if your customer is very rich, then you can always do everything. But yeah, it is, in my opinion, in this process of remanufacturing, it is crucial to, you don't have to call it embellish, but kind of do something to really elevate the product in order for it to be called upcycling, to make it better, to add value, right?
Yeah, I think this is also brings us back to the what we mentioned before about the sustainability. And there's so much material lying around in the textile industry, which is really burned, and it's good to raise awareness that the material is here, but it's more about what can we do with it. And yeah, maybe as a last question, because you're the youngest one of this residency program, and it was also we also talked about careers and how do you position yourself, and you said you want to build up a mixed portfolio. And can you talk about your idea of your future? What are your plans? And yes, how do you?
Um, I have a lot of things I want to do, and there's a lot to be explored. And I think textile design offers a really nice base for understanding of material and how things come together, and that I hope I will be able to take or feed from this and put it into new contexts outside of textiles even maybe. So I'm very looking forward also to exploring arts and maybe architectural things more, interior design. I would love to collaborate on furniture and whatever. It's see the world as a playground.
Yes, that's a good idea. I think even if it's difficult to have these mixed identities, but I think it will be the more important that's to explore different fields and bring them together. This makes the messages stronger somehow.
Yeah, maybe that's not the easy path,
No,
right?
it's not the easy path,
Because
definitely. Yeah,
potential customers want
yeah,
to know what you do.
exactly. Want the
So this is kind of
Schublade.
yeah, but it might work.
Yes, we hope so. So thank you very much. I think we ready for a break.